Look, so you want to be a successful entrepreneur. You want financial freedom, you want to buy nice things, retire your parents, look after your family, you have hundreds of different business ideas, and you're bombarded with a ton of different business models that you're interested in starting. Or maybe you've already started a business and you're failing, or started multiple businesses and you've failed every single one of them, or you're just not earning the money you want to be earning and living the life you want to be living. Well, what if I told you that your failures are down to one underlying mistake that 99% of wantrepreneurs make? You're just not starting correctly. Hear me out. For those of you that have actually started, you haven't started efficiently. Why? Well, you wouldn't be watching this video for one. So many of you are spending too much time putting things off because you struggle with the self-motivation of being your own boss, or you're just being a busy idiot and not focusing your efforts on revenue-generating activities. Now look, you're not the only one. Honestly, I did this for years. I've failed time and time again. I started a clothing brand when I was in college, and I was focusing on all the wrong things. I was more conscious about what my logo looked like and what my Shopify store looked like, that I failed to focus my efforts on actually selling our clothing, and so I failed. I started a nightclub events business when I was in university, and I was more worried about whether my friends were on the guest list and what drinks we were buying that night and what outfit I was wearing than actually filling the club. And so I failed. And it wasn't until I jumped into sales that I actually learned what it truly took to be successful, both in a target-driven career and in my business efforts. Now look, when I first jumped into sales, I was in a pretty low position within my life. I was in thousands of pounds worth of credit card debt and payday loans. I was maintaining this false lifestyle that I'd obtained when I was running the nightclub event business, but when that failed, I tried to keep that up because I had too much pride to admit to my friends and family that I had failed. And so I was backed into a corner, and I had no option but to get myself out of it in whatever way I saw fit. And for me, I thought sales was going to be the best industry for me to jump into because it was a commission-based role, target-driven, and I just thought, okay, I'm just going to have a crack at this. This is going to be hopefully the straightest line for me to get myself out of this debt that I was in. The thing is, I had no sales experience apart from PRing on the street for these clubs, and anybody can get a drunk person to come into a club for a couple of free shots. And so I remember my first day in the sales job, I was absolutely terrified. We went through a 3-day intensive training, and I did everything I could to avoid jumping on the phone. It was a cold call driven job. We had to make 100 cold calls a day, but you're kind of weaned into it, and you don't have to do that on your first week or two. And so I used to run away to the corner of the office. I'd be shaking with my paper in my hand. I would be trembling with my words, just reading off this script like a robot, and I had no success whatsoever. But I spent the most of my days pretending to make these calls, right? We didn't have an effective call tracker in place at the time. So no, as long as I looked like I was on the phone, my boss never really questioned me. But I'd spend all my time building my lead list, making sure my LinkedIn profile was optimized, okay? Making sure I had a good fancy email signature. I remember doing all these things and thinking, oh yeah, this is what's gonna make me successful in this role. And my first 2 weeks, nothing. No sales, nothing. My first month was pretty diabolical. And it was at that point when I kind of thought to myself, I can just continue wasting my time on these little insignificant details which are not going to ultimately get me to generating sales and paying off this debt, or I can actually focus on the one thing which is going to get me to where I want to be. And that's a revenue generating activity, which is going to be picking up that phone and trying to sell to people. And so even though I was terrified of calling at the time, I then shifted my focus from 80% of my time being on stupid tasks, just building my image, and then moved that over to 80% of my time being actually selling and 20% of my time on the rest of the stuff, which is still important, and we'll come on to that in a bit. Now, when I started that, not only did I get better on the phone and get better with selling, because with sales, it's one of those things with repetition, you get better and better and better. So if you're in any outreach-based industry, the more you sell, the better you get, the more content you get, the more, when you get rid of that script, that's ultimately when you hit that peak of your performance. And so I got better and better, and I was getting better and better results as a result of that. And within my 3rd month, I was in the top 3 performing people within that company because I was dedicated to making sure I hit my targets. I made sure I hit 100 cold calls every single day. I wasn't fudging my numbers like the majority of people in the office. And lo and behold, I started bringing in cash. And everybody in the company was looking at me like, who's this young kid that's just come in with no experience and is now top 3 performers in the company? I even had a key to the office because the managing director wanted to be selling as much as I could because I was dedicated to bringing in that commission. I wanted to pay off that debt as quick as I could. No one in the office knew I was in debt. No one in the office knew I was backed into a corner, but I wanted it gone. And I got rid of it within 6 months of starting my first ever sales role. And I didn't have no secret, okay? There wasn't some special script that I was using that nobody else had. I was just focusing the majority of my time on revenue generating activities. Everyone else thought it's because my LinkedIn profile looked good, because I had a good email signature. Everybody started copying what I was doing. It had nothing to do with my success. It was just that I was committed and focused on hitting my sales targets religiously every single day. And that's ultimately what put me in that position. Now, I carried across that exact same principle with every single sales job that I jump into after that. I had 2 other sales jobs and I worked my way up to the top of those companies. I got bored and I moved on to another company and hit another revenue bracket. And that's a story for another time. But I knew that if I was going to work myself up, if I was going to be successful in those roles, then the only thing I needed to do was focus on the revenue generating task. What is my lowest hanging fruit? And in a sales-based role, that's picking up the phone and that's making contact with your potential customers. Now that's all and good when you've got a job. When you have the looming pressure that if you don't hit your targets, you're gonna get the sack. If you don't do what you're paid to do, you might not have a job at the end of the month. Your boss is looking over your shoulder and watching what you're doing and analyzing you and keeping you in check. But when you have a business of your own, when you're your own boss, everything changes. You no longer have that pressure. And I see so many people start businesses and fail because they cannot keep up that self-motivation of being their own boss. They cannot put that pressure on themselves. The minute they quit their job, they start a business, they are then a managing director. They put CEO in their LinkedIn bio and they start making sure their profile looks good, that their images look good, that they buy themselves a car on finance and their brand looks good, and all of these things that are just going to put them in a negative equity. They spend hours building a website, a logo, thinking about their company name, their email signature, optimizing their LinkedIn profile, joining Facebook groups and watching videos that aren't going to help them generate more revenue. Apart from this one, I really hope that this is going to be a wake-up call to some of you guys that need to hear this message, because this is the only reason that I am sat where I am today. This is the only reason I had so much success and have so much success within my digital marketing agency, because I knew what it took to be successful in my sales career and I carried across those same principles in my business. I was compulsively obsessed with revenue generating tasks. I didn't even have a website until 6 to 12 months after launching my agency, at which point I was already making 100 grand a year profit in pounds, right? So I was already extremely profitable before I even thought about launching a website. My first few clients were just signed to Platten. They weren't even signed up to a professional business entity. And whilst all of those things are important in this day and age, you should not be focusing all of your efforts on them right at the start. Focus 80% of your efforts on revenue generating tasks every single day, and the remaining 20% on website, logo, LinkedIn profile, and all of that stuff, right? All that procrastination tasks, which are important, but not anywhere near as important as revenue generating tasks. So establish what that is for you. If you're an e-commerce business owner, that's going to be finding and bringing a product to market. It doesn't matter about your website and your brand. If you don't have a product, you don't have a business. So focus 80% on your time on finding that product, negotiating, and bringing that product to market. You can optimize your website and your brand afterwards, but you need a business to be able to do that. You need money in your bank to be able to quit your job and change your lifestyle. And some of you will watch this video and think, do you know what? Jordan's right. I'm going to focus 80% of my time on revenue generating tasks, and tomorrow and maybe the next day you're going to do that. But a couple of days later, you'll fall back to your bad habits and you'll start procrastinating again. You'll start blaming other things for the reason that you're not successful, and you'll start optimizing your website and your logo and all of those things that aren't actually going to get you to where you want to be. And that comes down to a lack of resilience. And I believe that resilience is the single most important trait that any successful entrepreneur can have. It's the ability to take a no and take a failure and still continue and stick to your guns, to still pick up the phone and reach out to new businesses, to make 100 cold calls, get 100 rejections and still make 2,000 more, to get 10 meetings and still go into the 11th and close your first ever client. Because that is the first and biggest hurdle that business owners face. And it's so incredibly frustrating because I have seen hundreds, if not thousands of business business owners come and go in my last couple of years of marketing online and publishing my content and documenting my journey. I've seen so many people come to me with their failures and they say, hey Jordan, I'm not being successful in my business. I say, okay, cool. What position are you in? How many companies have you reached out to? What have you done? They say, I've reached out to 20 people. I've reached out to 50 people. I've reached out to 100 people. I'm like, well, why are you giving up, right? I've done that in 1 week, okay? Another agency will do that in 5 days, and then 5 days later, they'll sign 5 new clients up. So resilience is the key that's gonna glue all of this together, right? Without resilience, you're not going to be able to stick to those targets. So if there's anything you take from this video, it's that for now on, I want you to focus 80% of your time on revenue generating tasks, 20% on those other bits and bobs which are fun to do, and you should do them as well, and be resilient. Believe me and trust me, because I know this works. If you follow that formula, you will be successful in whatever business venture you are following. Guys, that's the end of this video. I'm getting worked up on this topic because I'm so passionate about this. I truly desire for a world where all aspiring entrepreneurs find success. And I've seen so many people go through this process, and it's that principle that they all follow that gets them to where they want to be and stops them from failing in their latest ventures. Now, first of all, if you're in digital marketing, then make sure that you watch my video on how to start social media marketing 2021. You'll learn about all of the things that you need to be focusing your time on. If you don't yet know what business model you want to jump into, then click the link somewhere around here. We have a new video that we brought out, which is the best online business models right now for you to take action on. And of course, share this video with somebody else who will get value from this, somebody who maybe needs to hear this message today. And if this is your first ever video you've watched of mine, then thank you, welcome to the channel. Make sure you subscribe and turn your notification bell on so you get notified every time we bring out new content. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you action everything I've gone through today. Please feel free to drop me down a comment below and let me know if you think I've missed anything in today's video. Thank you so much. I'll see you all very, very soon. Cheers.